Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 12 o'clock on a Sunday, which means it's time for a Q&A. Now, this is where I take all the questions that you've asked over the course of the week and I try to answer them to the best of my ability. First of all, if you're watching this, I want to say thank you very much for joining us all week on Magic TV. You guys watching these videos makes it all worthwhile. Thank you so much. Now, if you've not seen a Q&A before, I don't prepare the questions. I don't even look at the questions. I just answer them off the cuff, and if there's a question that I think might be a meatier video, I tend to go for that and create a separate video for it. So just so you know. And also, you want to try and get your questions in as soon as possible. Today is Tuesday. It's 6 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. I'm filming this today because pretty much every single day this week, I've got back-to-back gigs, multiple gigs every single day. So it's going to be very difficult for me to film a video like this at any other point this week. So if you want to guarantee to get your questions answered, especially over December, try to get them to me by Monday at the very latest. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of questions already this week, which is amazing. So without further ado, I'm going to get straight into this week's Q&A. Okay, so the first question is by Davis West. And Davis West said, I'd love you to consider doing a video where you go to a dollar store or a pound store and build an entire magic performance just using stuff there. I'd love to see your level of creativity and help aid younger magicians in creating magic with inexpensive props. You must have read my mind because that's something I'm planning on doing very, very soon. It's something that I've got scheduled to film in the next 2 or 3 weeks. The problem is it's December at the moment and it's very, very busy with gigs. And also filming the Matchumentary every week takes a lot of time and effort. Like, for example, just last week, I ended up having to go to Bristol, which is a 4-hour round trip, just to film with Matt for the Matchumentary. So it does take a lot longer. I've only got a certain amount of time in a day to do the kind of stuff where I have to go out the office and film, and the Matchumentary is taking up a lot of that at the moment. Having said that, that is something that I'm going to do. I think it'll be a really good video for people to watch. I'm going to try and get it done before December. If not, I'll do it in January where things quieten down a little bit from a gigging point of view. Okay, so the next question is by Oliver Vinacore, and Oliver says, where can I find a budget version of the hug kill trick, preferably customizable? Great question. So if you don't know what Oliver's talking about, hug kill is a routine called Of Mice and Men. It's marketed by Vanishing Ink, and it's by Tom Stone. And it was originally published in one of his books, then came out as a standalone trick. And the idea is very simple. You have 6 cards on stage. You're holding sort of a frame with 6 cards on it. You have somebody shake a dice. They look at the number, you turn it round, and it says hug, and then when you go to give them a hug, all the others say kill, because the presentation is, hey, I like to greet people when they come up on stage. I've got 6 different ways of greeting people. You get to pick one by using a dice. It's an amazing trick. It really is. And it's not cheap. It's, I think, over £100, and Oliver wants to know if he can find a budget version of that. Well, the original hug kill, or Of Mice and Men, was based on Andy Nyman's Dice Man. So, Dice Man is basically a very, very, very similar thing. Now, I don't want to give away the method to Dice Man, but Dice Man used dice and it didn't have the hug kill aspect to it. But if you know the original Dice Man, and if not, it's marketed by ACAAN, you can still get it. If you learn that method for Dice Man, that can actually be adapted to hug kill using jumbo cards. So you could get yourself a pack of jumbo blank cards and you could write them out with hug and kill on them. And you could use that same methodology in the original Dice Man to do hug kill. What you'd have to do, I think, is you'd have to have like little stands that you'd have out on a table, and maybe you could put the 6 cards there, but you could achieve the same sort of thing using the original Dice Man concept. So there's that to look into. But then when you actually, if you want to do a different version of a trick from a budgeting point of view or anything, my advice to you would be to have a look at the trick and think about what it is. What is not the method, but what's the effect? Well, the effect is, in essence, forget about the presentation for a minute. The effect is that one card has hug on it, and all the others have kill on it. So, in essence, what we have here is a force. So if you can think of, and I'm going to assume that you're doing this on stage for a minute because it's a stage piece. If you can think of any other method that can force a card in a really fair way, then you could achieve the same sort of thing. Now, you might have to change it presentationally, but you could achieve the same sort of thing. So, for example, you could use a patio force. Pick any two, eliminate one. You could use a patio force, and you could have 6 cards. You could have 6 jumbo cards, and you could have a patio force, and one by one you're eliminating the cards that using the patio force, and at the end you look at the last, and you're not showing them the cards they've eliminated, but you show them the final card, and it says hug on it, and you pick up the others, and you go, well, you didn't want these, you want those. You go to give a hug, and as you're hugging, you're just showing the other cards all say kill on them. A patio force would work really well. Any other force where you can force a small packet of cards would also work really well. You could use roughing fluid and have roughed pairs, a little bit like sort of a Bill Abbott sort of the baby gag thing that Bill Abbott does, that thing, but with blank cards. And you could have hug on one side, hug on the one card, and the one that you rough on top of it could say kill. So you could show the cards, you could have them name one, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Which one do you want? That one. Oh, brilliant! What have you got? You've got hug, and all the others as you go to give the hug have kill. Any method like that would work fine. When you think about it that way, all you need to do is work out how to do a force. I mean, you could get really clever with it, and you can have people come up on stage and have lanyards, and you can have double-sided lanyards. Whatever method you want to do is fine. There's not really a marketed budget version unless you look at the original Dice Man and adapt that to stage. But when you actually think about it as a force, I'm sure you know a whole bunch of forces, and if you do, just figure out what force would work best for your character and do it that way. The next question is from Phil K77, and Phil K77 says, it was interesting to hear your recommendations for ACAAN, thank you. Is there a chance of you doing a special looking at all of these and discussing the pros and cons of each? Absolutely, 100% yes. That is something that I can absolutely do, and I'll get onto that for you, Phil. It's a really good recommendation, actually. Okay, so the next question is Sting, and Sting says, hello, Grim Craig. Hello, Sting. Hope you're doing well. I wonder what is your opinion on bank holidays? You are on that side of family first, or is performing and making money priority? I'm all about family. I mean, my attitude is my kids are only going to be kids once, and at some point they're going to grow up and want to have nothing to do with me. So I'm all about family, 100%. However, at the same time, I have to run a business, and so that I'll be honest, there's some bank holidays where I've not been around because I've been performing. But to be honest, I don't know if other people in the UK feel this way. A bank holiday is just another day. As long as I'm having time with my kids, I don't care if it's a bank holiday or it's a Saturday, it's a Sunday. I know a lot of magicians will always work every Saturday. They'll always work every Sunday. And I'll make sure that I have time off regularly to spend with my kids. And now that Ryland's a magician and gigs and does magic as well, we tend to tie that in. So if Ryland's getting booked to do like a week at the House of Secrets in Blackpool, for example, we'll hire a big house, we'll go up there with the dogs and the kids, and we'll all go and watch him perform in the evening at the House of Secrets, and then we'll have all day together as a family to do stuff as a family. So I think family is very important, and bank holidays and weekends all merge into one for me. It doesn't really matter whether it's, I think the last time I worked a Christmas Day was probably back when I was about 25 years old. I haven't worked Christmas Day for a long time. But bank holidays, I've got no problem working as long as I'm having regular time with my family. So good question. That's kind of how I approach it. Okay, so the next question is from Mike Tyson by TKO, and a lot of other people have left the same comment, which is great. So I'll read one of them, which is, Craig just finished watching week 1 of the Masterclass on Vanishing Ink. Great job. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure watching you let us in on your creations. Thank you so much for all you do for our entertainment. I really appreciate you. Can't wait for week 2. I'm so glad that everybody who's picked up the Vanishing Ink Masterclass so far has enjoyed it. I put so much time and effort into this. I really wanted to make it something really special. It's been a bucket list item for me to actually be on a masterclass, and I just wanted to deliver trick after trick after trick after trick. I wanted to overload people with content. which is kind of where I'm coming from with this masterclass. And the fact that Vanishing Ink have put it out for £1 is just brilliant. If you haven't picked it up yet, please do so. It's £1. You get to keep it forever. I really think the masterclasses from Vanishing Ink are great. So yeah, go pick it up. And I'd make a personal guarantee. If you buy the masterclass, you know, you spend your £1, whatever it is. If you're not happy, I will personally refund you the money that you paid, and you can keep the masterclass. Like, that's how much faith I have in the product. So thank you to everyone who's saying that they're enjoying it. I really appreciate that. And week 2 is even better. So buckle in. I think you're going to have a great time with week 2 as well. Okay, so the next question is from Hungry and Hungover. And Hungry and Hungover says, thanks for showing that version of the effect. You're more than welcome. Do you think if performing for a group, you should choose to do just magic, just mentalism, or a mixture of both? I've recently become more interested in mentalism, and I don't know if mixing in close-up magic will make the audience think my mentalism is just some clever trick rather than an actual demonstration of mind reading, which we both know is bullshit. But I feel like mixing in billet work after magic will somehow cheapen it. Am I right or wrong on this? That's something I've wrestled with for a long time, man. And I think really it comes down to your persona or your character. If you haven't gone and watched the interview with Luch yet that I put up last Saturday, go and check it out, because I spoke to Luch about this. And I actually worked a gig with Luch recently. And when I got there, he was doing mind reading. He was booked as a mind reader. I was booked as a magician. And even though I do mental magic like gossip and trivia, and I do some mentalism, excuse me, I turned around to him and I said, look, I'm just going to stick to the sleight of hand stuff, because I don't want what you're doing to be trivialized by me. And my thought process was, if he's just booked to do mind reading and he's going around and demonstrating mind reading and, hey, I'm a mind reader, and I'm walking around and I'm doing some mind reading as well, but then I'm making a sponge ball vanish, it trivializes what he does. And I think he really appreciated that. Now, in the context of the question that you're asking, I get away with doing mind reading and mentalism-y stuff because of my character. I don't try and portray it as real. I don't portray it as I'm reading people's minds. I don't even portray it as, hey, I'm going to influence you, or I can pick up on your body language or anything like that. How I portray it is the way that I portray all of my magic, which is, hey, I've been practicing a long time to do this sort of stuff, and I'm basically going to make you think that what you're seeing is real, whilst in actual fact it's not. If anybody flat out comes and asks me if what I'm doing is real, whether it's making a coin disappear, sawing a lady in half, or reading somebody's mind, I'll say, no, it's not real. All I'm doing is I've just been doing this a long time, and I can make it look real. So I don't want people to really believe I'm a magician. I haven't got magical powers. I can't snap my fingers and disappear and appear in the Bahamas. But what I can do is I can show them some really cool shit. And that's kind of how I approach stuff. So I feel that I can mix mentalism and magic into my close-up set when I present it that way, because I'm not trying to come across as a mind reader. I even use presentational hooks like, hey, have you seen Darren Brown? He's amazing, isn't he? I can't do that side of things, but I have learned to do this, which is totally different. But maybe, just maybe, you might think it's real, but I'm telling you right now, it's not real. It's the same with, and I play all of my performances are played for comedy, whether it's magic or mentalism. And it's the same on stage. I do a big mentalism thing on stage, like a really big mentalism thing on stage. That involves 4 people. It's one of my signature pieces. If anybody's seen me perform on stage, you've probably seen me do this. Excuse me, got a bit of a cough. Where there's 4 people up on stage and I'm reading their minds, and it's all ridiculously over the top funny, and there's a lot of dancing and stuff. But even though I'm doing, in essence, mind reading, nobody would ever think that I'm reading minds. But that, in essence, is what I'm doing. It's the same with Ryland, right? Ryland's stage show. Everything he does is the sort of thing that a kid would do. He does magic with Lego and Rubik's Cubes and all sorts of stuff. But he does mentalism in there. He predicts the Lego character somebody's going to pick. He predicts the amount of sweets that are in a jar. He does stuff like that. I don't think people think he's a mind reader. It's really just how you present it. So really it's down to your character. If you're wanting to present it as real, then will the magic impact on that? Possibly. It's really a decision that you have to make. There's a lot of people that go out there and just do mentalism because they're worried that their mentalism is going to be trivialized by their magic. Other people don't have that problem. Really, you need to look at yourself, you need to look at your character and decide which is the best way to go for you. Okay, so the next question is from Bobby Jenkins. First of all, the comment, watch the Matchamentary with Matt, practicing for a kid show. Haven't laughed so much in a long while at the video, especially with the rope. Asking Ryland was the knot on and he was supposed to be in the audience was so funny. Yeah, it was. My question is, I'm thinking of buying a WoW 3, but won't get it until there's a few more tricks with it on the Netrix. You keep saying you're going to put more on, but I think that there's only 2. When, please? Because it's a great gimmick and I know I can think of things to do myself, but I'm a council worker. I need to say, well, we don't think that hard. Right, good question. Right, there's a few people asking about WoW, so let me give you the time frame. Here's what's going to happen. Every Christmas, I put on a really cool video on YouTube. This year, it's going to be the hows and whys of the WoW. So on YouTube, I'm going to put on a big, long video. It's going to be like an hour in length, and it's going to be all about the WoW gimmick. So I'm going to be talking about the WoW. I'm going to be talking about the different versions of the WoW, how you can use it, what it does, what it doesn't do. I'm going to cover everything, right? With a fine-tooth comb. I'm going to go through everything. So there's that. Then, after I've done that same upload period, so the next upload onto the Netrix, all of those tricks that I've taught with the WoW, that I've explained on the YouTube video, are going to go onto the Netrix. So that's going to happen over Christmas. So we're going to have the video going up on YouTube where I'm talking about it, and I'm maybe performing some of the routines with it. But the in-depth explanations and the in-depth how to do this and how to do that, that's going to drop onto the Netrix at the end of December. And there's going to be a bigger upload session that week because it's going to be all of the stuff that I do with the WoW. So there's going to be like maybe 8 or 9 different routines rather than the 5 that typically go up on the Netrix. Now, in the meantime, on my 3rd Vanishing Ink session, I have got a couple of routines with the WoW that is on the Masterclass session 3. They'll be in addition to what's going up on the Netrix. I might actually put those up on the Netrix as well. I haven't decided yet. But that's your whole thing with the WoW. It takes a long time to do these videos, the hows and whys and so on and so forth. And so we've started filming all of this. So there you go. That's the time frame. Couple of routines you can learn immediately by going and checking out the Masterclass of Vanishing Ink, session 3. Around about Christmas, over the Christmas period, you're going to have the hows and whys of the WoW. And then on Netrix, you're going to have a massive upload of all the WoW material. So by the beginning of New Year, you're going to have everything that you need. So that's the time scale. I hope it helps. I'm really excited for people to see the stuff that I do with WoW because I love the gimmick. I really do, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. Okay, so the next question is from Scotland's Magic Sensation, and Scotland's Magic Sensation says, "Hi mate, another great video. Thank you so much. I'm gutted during lockdown. I thought about an effect where a rubber band is stretched out and stays stretched like it's frozen in time, like hard stretch. Should have got my finger out and did something. Full credit to Roman Armstrong for a similar thought of bringing it to life." Man, I know exactly how you feel. The amount of times I've put a trick together and I've found out it's been done. It's so frustrating, but that's part and parcel of being a creator. You know, there's a lot of false starts for many different reasons, and you just got to keep going. So the question is, how do you create an effect when you might not have the technical know-how or the tools to make what's in your head? Thanks again. So there's two ways of approaching this. So what he's saying here is, you've got an idea for a trick in your head, you can't make a prototype yourself, what do you do? So there's a couple of different ways of approaching this. Now the first way, and probably the easiest way, is to go to a producer, a production company, and say, hey, this is the idea, could you make me a prototype? Now the problem is, you have to have a pretty good reputation within that company before they'll greenlight something and say yes. So for example, I've got something that I'm doing with Murphy's at the moment. I'm on my 5th prototype, but it's getting there. The final prototype I've got is perfect. So now we're going to be organising filming dates for this. But that's the problem with this is if nobody knew who you are, you hadn't created a trick before, and you rang up Murphy's and said, hey, I've got an idea for a trick, could you make me this prototype? They'd probably say no. You have to have a reputation, or you have to have a track record. Like Murphy's know how many tricks I sell for all the different companies that I bring tricks out with, and therefore they're happy to take the risk because they know that my ideas normally will come to fruition and whatever. So the first thing that you need to do is have a reputation. If you want to get to that level, you need to bring some other tricks out first of all, have a track record, show that your stuff sells and sells really well, have a good reputation with the various different production companies you're going to. Then you could make that phone call and probably get them to say yes, because it's going to cost them a lot of time and effort and money and risk to be able to prototype that to a point that it's ready to go. I know that we've spent a lot of money getting the prototypes with Murphy's bang on. So that's the first thing that you need to, that's the first thing that you can do. So, build a relationship up with the production company and have them do the work for you. And, you know, if you haven't got that reputation in place, maybe go with a smaller production company. You know, Saturn Magic, for example. Not that I'm saying anything negative about Saturn. I'm just saying they are not the same size as Murphy's. They are a smaller production company than Murphy's Magic, for example. So you might want to go to Saturn and sit down with the people at Saturn and say, hey, I've got this idea. But I'm going to need you to prototype it for me. Will you help? And they might take a punt on you, even if they don't know who you are, because one thing Saturn seems to be quite good at is taking fairly unknown artists and bringing stuff out for them and making them a bigger name. So, you know, there's that option. The other option is network. So build up a network of people that you can go to. So, for example, if I've got an idea for a coin gimmick, I know I can pick up the phone and I can speak to Jamie Schoolcraft, or I can speak to Ronald Davis. Both of those guys are amazing at coin work. Excuse me. Same with Mark Mason. I can speak to Mark Mason, who's also very good at making coin gaffs. If I have, Drew Perry, who made the hard stretch gimmick, is a professional prop builder. He's a great person to know because he will be, you know, he'll probably have 1,000 different ways of making a gimmick. I'm good friends with Seth Race, who's the sort of the main prop builder for Penguin Magic. So I can pick up the phone and speak to Seth and get opinions off Seth. Same with Javier Fred Major. He's amazing when it comes to making gimmicks for Murphy. So I can pick up the phone and ask him for advice. Lloyd Barnes is somebody else who's great at making gimmicks. Steve-O Watson, if you're on the Netrix, Steve-O Watson's incredible. He's got some incredible courses on the Netrix. All of these people you can reach out to and say, hey, could you help me make this gimmick? I think I need some help. I know what I want to do, but I can't do it. Can you help me? So all of those are options there. The next thing that you can do is just do some hard graft and just go and find it yourself. When the original Keymaster came out about 11 years ago now, I had the idea and I wanted to create a prototype. And so I rang around key manufacturers. First of all, I rang around locksmiths and nobody could help me. So then I went to key manufacturing companies and nobody could help me. And then somebody said yes. And this was after about 2 weeks of making phone calls. And I went to see them in their industrial unit. And they said, I sat down with them and explained exactly what I needed. And they said, well, the problem is, because I needed blanks, key blanks. And I said, the problem is you can only buy those in at 10,000 a time. And I was like, that's way too many. I'm not going to need that many. And they came up with the idea of taking key blanks that have already got holes drilled in them, which is how they ordered them in, and basically making them with no holes. So we filled the holes in and then sanded them off. So if you ever had the original Keymaster, the gimmicks in there was a hole, but what we did is we filled the hole in and we sanded it off. And it was working with this production company that actually got Keymaster to fruition and got it to a point where it went on the market. And then obviously things have changed with Penguin and so on and so forth, but that was how the original Keymaster came out. That was just hard work and graft and just going out there and finding companies that could do what I needed them to do and then getting a prototype made up. And I spent quite a bit of money to a point where, but I've spent quite a bit of money to get it to a point where it's prototyped. And then I was able to bring it out. And sometimes you are going to have to spend money. So I've got a deck of cards coming out with Murphy's at some point. I've just had the proofs come through right now. I actually designed that deck of cards myself. And the reason is I knew that if I go to Murphy's and I tell them about it, they would say no, because they wouldn't understand it. I knew I needed to have it designed so I could show them the design. So I went to Phil Smith, who is one of the best designers in the industry. And I paid him to design this pack of cards for me. And then I went to Murphy's and I showed it them. And they were like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So sometimes it's about prototyping things yourself and reaching out to people and seeing if you can find someone that will put it together for you. But those are really the best options. Hopefully that answers your question. I hope it does. I hope I've covered everything that you needed to know there. So the next question is from Medifro, and Medifro says, hey Craig, love your videos. Thanks very much, man. With your huge repertoire while doing close-up, socially or gigging, how do you decide which set, routine, trick you'd like to do in a given moment or for that given spectator or group? Is like sets you rotate through, or do you customize on the fly? A bit of both. I do have pre-thought out sets, and if you've ever seen my video, how to create set lists, which I put on YouTube, you should go check that out because I go through my whole process of how I actually create set lists in a gigging situation. So that's something that you should go check out. So I do have pre-worked out sets, but I'm also very, very good at like changing things up on the fly. And to be honest, that's part of my sales pitch to customers when they ring me up. I say, hey, one of the things that I do is I try to make sure that every single group that I go and perform for sees something different. So if everybody sees the same trick over and over again, when I leave and everyone's talking about it, they're going to be comparing notes and they're going to be going, oh, he did this and this. Oh, he did that to me as well. Oh, I did that to me as well. Whilst if I'm at an event, everyone's going to see something different. So they're going to be comparing what they saw, and it's going to continue the magic long after I've gone, right? So it's part of my sales pitch to customers. And I do try, wherever possible, to completely vary up everything that I do on every given group. Now, it's not always possible, but I do try. And I think part of that is, like you say, I customize it on the fly. And I'll go in a completely different direction. So I might start with a pack of cards and I might start going into a particular routine. At the end of that routine, it's almost like a choose your own adventure. I've got multiple different ways that I can go. And it's about understanding transitions and understanding and thinking through how you're going to transition into the next trick. Now, you can do that by having custom designed sets, absolutely. So you know in your head, right, I've done this, now I need to go into this. Or you can do it by, instead of having sets, you have, you just know in your head, right, okay, I've done an ambitious card now. How is the ending to this trick going to work out? Well, I'm going to have a card in a wallet and it's going to be signed. Right, okay, so what do I go into from there? Well, I could go into this way. I've got a signed card, so I could do this, or I could do this, or I could do a deck switch and I could have a blank deck. How would that help? Well, then I can do this, and I can do this, and I can do this. Okay, so where else could I go? Well, I could take that card and I could do this, and that would make it this and this. And it's all about knowing the different options that are ahead of you. And also, you know, I have multiple close-up cases and I don't even really think about it. I just grab one and take it to a gig with me. So a lot of the time, I'll open up the case and it's nothing. Like, I haven't done Chop Cup, not Chop Cup, for about 6 months. And I was leaving the house the other day for a gig, and I just saw my Chop Cup lying on the side. I was like, I'm going to take that. And I just took it with me and I did some stuff with the Chop Cup. You know, I vary stuff up quite often. So I think that's important. So constantly vary things up is the key. And be prepared to move in different directions. Okay, so the next question is from Jonah Berg, who has got a few questions. Let's see if we can answer a few of them. The first question is, what are your favourite tricks with the Svengali deck? Well, I have got a project coming out in the 1914 at some point with a Svengali deck. It's the follow-up to Visible, so you look out for that. It's going to be coming soon. However, two of my favourite tricks with a Svengali deck are going to appear on the Vanishing Ink Masterclass episode 2, which is coming up today. It's this, you're looking at this today, it's coming up today. So Masterclass video 2, I've got a couple of different routines with a Svengali deck. Both of them are awesome and I love them very, very much. So go check out that. There's one called Magic versus Mentalism, which I especially love because the method just makes me happy. So go check out those. They're on the Vanishing Ink Masterclass. But look out for the look out for Svengali, the project. It's going to be coming soon, and it's going to be like Visible. It's going to be like a 5-hour project all on the Svengali deck. But if you want to know what my ultimate favorite trick is with a Svengali deck, I think it's probably Magic. Is it called Magic versus Mentalism? What did I call it? Hang on, let me just go into Vanishing Ink. It'll be on there. 1 minute. Vanishing Ink. I don't want to get the name wrong. There we go. So, where am I? I should be somewhere, shouldn't I? Where's my masterclass? There it is. Right. Boom. Number 2. Mentalism versus Prediction. Yeah, Mentalism versus Prediction. That uses a Svengali deck, and it uses it in a very different way to anything that you've seen before. So go and check that out. It's really cool. And yeah, the 1914 product will be coming out next year. Okay, so the next question from Jonah Berg is, how many hours a day are you involved in Magic? Kind of all of them. I don't know. Magic's my life at this point. I suppose it depends on what you mean by involved in Magic. Like, let's take today, for example. It's about 6:30 now. I've been up since 6 o'clock filming this video. So it's about 6:30 now. I'm down at the, I'm in my house at the bottom of my garden in the studio. So I'm filming this now at 6:30. I'm probably going to finish this at about 8 o'clock. At which point I'm going to go up to the house, grab something to eat, grab a coffee, take the kids to school. Then I'm going to go into my office. I'm going to go into my office and I'm going to work all day on something to do with Magic, because I have 3 companies: Magic TV, which is producing the videos that you're seeing here and producing the content for the Netrix. And I know I've got Jack breathing down my neck that I need to get the Netrix filming finished today. Because the rest of the week I'm out on gigs, so I've got to get that done today, so I know there's going to be a big part of that doing. But if I'm not working on Magic TV, I'm working on Slightly Unusual and Non-Stop Kids, and I'm normally working in the sales and marketing department there, so I'm designing stuff to do with promoting Magic, or I'm talking to people about booking Magic, or I'm speaking to entertainers, but I've always got something that I'm doing to do with Magic. There's always something going on that I'm doing with Magic. So that typically takes up most of the day, and then I'll pick up Ryland from school and Thea from school, and me and Ry will probably end up working on something for his act, which normally happens, and then at some point I'm probably going to be learning some new Magic or working on something that I'm creating myself. That can happen throughout the day, but it'll also happen in the evening when the kids go to bed, you know, after I've watched a film with Sarah or something. And then I'll probably come down to the office. I'll probably be doing an interview at like midnight with somebody in America for a Talk Magic, or I'll be working on creations. I'll regularly come down here till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, just working on tricks at this table. So Magic's kind of my life. And then tomorrow I've got 3 gigs. The next day I've got 2 gigs at an illusion show in the evening. And that's pretty much the same through to the following Monday. So how many hours a day do I do Magic? Pretty much all of them. I mean, obviously I take time off and I watch films and I go and do stuff. But on a typical working day, I'm pretty much surrounded by Magic 24/7. Okay, another question from Jonah Berg. What is the best cheap mystery box on the market? Well, the best way, when you think of a mystery box, basically, a mystery box is a box where there's a card isolated in there, and you can switch the card that's in there for a Mercury folded card that's in your palm, right? That's basically what mystery box is. And when you think about it that way, well, the cheapest way to do it is with the Full View Switch or Paperclips by Jay Sankey, because all you have to do is buy a paperclip and you put it down or put it into a cup and you're good to go. So, you know, that really is the easiest, well, not the easiest, but it's the cheapest way to do the mystery box style concept, because it's the cost of a paperclip and the download. But if you're not going to do that and you want an actual container for it to be held in, I'd look at Chop, because Chop is my product, and on there I talk about how I do mystery box with a borrowed cup. Well, now, you know, Chop isn't that expensive, and now you can do it anytime, anywhere. So there's that to look at as well. In terms of actual boxes, I don't know. I'd say probably one of the most inexpensively priced ones is the Lego mystery box by Prop Dog. So go check that out. That's probably one of the more inexpensive ones. But yeah, outside of that, I don't really know. Can't help. Okay, so the next question is from Divi Rao, and Divi says, I did busking at a Christmas market, put a table at the market and asked people at the market if they wanted to see a trick. Most people didn't take me seriously when I asked because I'm a kid. They just laughed and said, no, thank you. I'm assuming this is because they assume a kid magician will be rubbish. How do you get taken seriously even though I'm a kid? How do you get taken seriously? Well, I don't know about busking as a kid. I mean, define kid. I wouldn't really want Ryland to go busking on his own at the age of 10. Do you have an adult with you? How old are you? You define kid. I'd be careful, first and foremost, and make sure you've got an adult with you. But in all seriousness, if you are planning on actually busking as a kid, I suppose there's a couple of things that you can do. First thing is, I'm guessing you're gigging and you're doing this busking thing in your own area, right? In your local area. So first of all, build up a reputation as a magician in that area. So, you know, go and dominate social media in your area. It's quite easy to do that. Like Ryland's got 15,000 followers on Instagram. He's a kid. Ryland's engagement on Facebook is better than my company's Facebook engagement. So the first thing I'd say is build up a social media following, especially within all the local groups in your area, so that when people see you, they go, oh, that happens to Ryland all the time because he's been on BGT, I think, and because of his social media reach, we'll be in our local town and people will go, Ryland! Well, if people know who you are and they recognize you, it's going to be a lot easier for you to actually build up a crowd if they know who you are, right? So that's the first piece of advice I'd give you. The second piece of advice is, and I don't busk. I've never busked. So really, I'm not the best guy to answer this question. But I've got friends who are buskers, and I think I understand the process. So the other thing that you need to consider is you need to build up that crowd. They're never just going to come over. You're going to have them a reason to come over. So start off with something small. Have yourself a nice table. Have yourself a sound system. Get yourself a PA system and a head mic so that people can hear you. And start off with something small and just stop a couple of people and say, hey, watch this. Do something impressive. As people walk past and they see, you see them looking at you, say, come over here, have a look at this. This is incredible. Boom. Now, when you've built up like 4 or 5 people, then you take a step back and you say, we're building up a line here, we're building up a crowd, everybody coming over, and now you do something else and you do something else and you make it more visual and you suck them in. That's really the basis of busking. It's not really so much about the magic you're doing, it's the ability to build up a crowd. And you're saying it's because you're a kid. There's a lot of professional magicians that can't busk. You know, I've been doing this for 30 years and the thought of going out and busking fills me with dread. What I would do is I would go check out Stephen Bridges' YouTube channel, Stephen Bridges. Now, the newest stuff that he's put up isn't really what you're going to be interested in. It's interesting, but it's not going to help you. The newest stuff that he's put up is all about card counting. But if you go a little bit further back, he put a load of videos up about busking and about building up a crowd and the mindset of building up a crowd when busking, because he went through the process of learning how to do that and he was sharing his experiences on his YouTube channel. So that's a really good YouTube channel to go check out, and just don't give up. Keep going. Don't give up, and you'll get there. Okay, so the next question is from David Blaine, and he says, you got a question for you about copper, silver, brass. Most regular people carry Chinese coins or English coins. Most regular people carry Chinese coins or the English coins. So won't this scream gimmick? Is there a version with more common coins? Thank you. Alakazam, I think, do a version with more common coins, but it's not a problem really using a copper coin, a silver coin, and a brass coin, as long as you justify it. And have them examinable at the beginning. So structure the routine so you're not just leading with the gimmick right out the bat. So when I do copper, silver, brass, I bring out the 3 coins and I say, hey, let me tell you something about me. I collect coins. I'm a coin collector. I've got a huge coin collection and I do magic. That makes me doubly sad. But I want to show you something using 3 coins in my coin collection. This one here is a silver dollar. That's a Morgan dollar. People ask me who the picture of the woman is on the Morgan dollar, because a lot of people think, well, is it a queen? It's not. That's actually a sort of a close-up of the head of the Statue of Liberty. Now, this is a Chinese coin, and you can see there's a hole in the middle, and the symbols on the outside. No idea what these symbols mean, but I went to have a look at that one. It's a really cool coin. And finally, this is an old English penny. You probably haven't seen one of these before, or maybe you have. Maybe you've seen your granddad hold one of these or something like that, but this is a really old coin. Have a look at those 3 coins. Now, what I want you to see is the difference between them. The reason I'm using these 3 coins is they are so different in every way. One's silver, one's brass, one's copper, one's got a hole in it. You can tell the difference between these coins even from a distance, which makes what you're about to see completely impossible. Watch this. So you justify the props, you let them examine them, and then you bring them into the routine, and now it's no longer an issue. Any prop can be justified. Any prop is fine as long as you justify it. If you bring out the weirdest thing that you've ever seen in the world, that's not great unless you actually justify it. As long as you justify it, it's fine. I do a trick with a little TARDIS, and I get away with that because I start by hooking them in by talking about Doctor Who. Hey, let me tell you something about me. I love Doctor Who. Anybody else watch Doctor Who? I've been watching Doctor Who since Tom Baker. I've even got a massive scarf that I wear around my neck. Anyway, I want to tell you something with this. Does anyone know what this is? That's right, it's a TARDIS. It's what the Doctor uses to travel through time and space. Now, does anyone know what the acronym TARDIS means? Some people do, some people don't. It actually stands for time and relative dimensions in space. And the reason is the TARDIS is bigger on the inside than the outside. Now, we're going to use that concept to show you something really crazy here. You're not going to believe this. If you really believe that something can be bigger on the inside than the outside, you might believe it, you might not believe it, but what you're about to see now is going to make you question reality. Can you hold your hand out for me? And now I'm into the routine. And now I've hooked them in, I've grabbed their attention, and now they're intrigued with what I'm going to do next. So I wouldn't worry too much about coins and whether you can get coins that are more organic. Just think about how you can structure a presentation around a prop and how you can justify it to make it work for you. Okay, so we've got another question from David Blaine. You have a 7-year-old who believes in magic as being real. It's actually pretty cool. He has such a good imagination. I'd hate to ruin it for him and show him its sleights and gimmicks, etc. I do want to teach him magic, but at the same time, I want to keep that innocence and his sense of wonder. Not sure if this makes sense, but thanks anyway. Didn't you worry about this with Ryland? No, I didn't worry about it with Ryland. Never did. Never a concern, because I think you can still have an incredible imagination whilst understanding that magic is a performance art. I don't see a problem with that at all. There's still plenty of things that kids can use their imagination with. Santa, the Tooth Fairy, the list goes on and on and on. These days, magic is portrayed to kids as a profession. You know, they'll see, I've seen cartoons where there's a magician there, and, you know, they show him taking a rabbit out of a secret compartment in his jacket or whatever it may be. So I never had a problem with that. Never had an issue with that at all. I think that kids can still have a good imagination while still learning magic. And I think that learning magic can really have a positive impact on kids. It's going to teach them how to be more confident and less nervous in social situations. Like Ryland can walk on stage in front of thousands of people and not be nervous. That's because of the experience he's had learning magic. It allows him to have a hobby that's not staring at a screen. I know Ryland's got friends, and he tells me that all his friends do all day, every opportunity, every second of the day, they just stay on their screens. I've got a friend, well, not a friend, a family member. I know somebody whose kids, just literally, they never see the kids because they're either up in the bedroom playing on their computers, or if they're downstairs, they're just on their phones. And I wouldn't want that for Ryland. I think giving him a skill that he needs to actually not be in front of a screen in order to learn, that he loves, I think that's a good thing. It helps him with his dexterity. It helps him with his writing and his English work, because he's scripting tricks and he's coming up with routine ideas for tricks. That helps when he's actually putting creative writing lessons together for English. It helps with his memory. You're memorizing complicated Rubik's Cube algorithms. You're memorizing a deck of cards, and it helps you with your memory. It helps you just basically being able to go up to people confidently. You know, there's a lot of advantages of learning how to do a magic as a kid that I think that are more important than the potential loss of innocence, because they realize that that aspect of magic isn't real. I don't think it's an issue. I understand where you're coming from, but for me, and really it's an individual, it's a decision that each parent has to make. But for me, I didn't see a problem with that. Right, the next question is from the Creepypasta Poet, and the Creepypasta Poet, amazing name by the way, says, "Hey Craig, have you ever considered trying to fool Penn and Teller?" And the answer is, it's not anything that's ever been on my agenda, really. I never wanted to kind of create a trick that was designed to fool Penn and Teller. That's never something, and Penn and Teller started with my exodus from the magic community. I only came back into magic about 2 years ago into the community, so you know, for the majority of the run and Penn and Teller, it wasn't even on my agenda. Having said that, I have got a trick that's coming out in 2023 with Murphy's Magic that I think would fool the pants off Penn and Teller. I think it's the best thing that I've ever done, and everybody I've shown it to doesn't even have a starting position of how you could even do this. It's ridiculous. And if they go for another season, I think I will apply, because I'd love to. I think this is probably the best and most fooling trick that I've ever created, and I'd like to test it against Penn and Teller just to see if I'm right or not. It's not really a desire to be on TV. That's not really anything that I care about. It's not a desire to improve my brand. You know, I've got other ways I can do that. It's just a desire to see if this trick that I've created would fool two magicians that I respect, because I think it will. It's fooled every other magician I've shown it to. So we'll see. If there's another season, I'll be applying with that. Okay, so the next question again is from David Blaine. David Blaine says, "Another great video. Are you going to do any routines with a Mirage deck or a mental photography deck? Thanks." I have a Mirage deck project coming out in 2023. And it's probably the longest. It's already filmed. Performances, tutorials, everything are done. It's probably the longest project I've put together yet. The Mirage deck is massively underutilized, and there's a couple of routines with the Mirage deck up on the Netrix, only a couple, but I think this project is going to have like 23 or 24 routines. So look out for that. Mental photography deck is something I've started looking at, because I've had so many people say, "Hey, what do you do with the mental photography deck?" And I've done mental photography, but I've never really kind of thought of it in the same way that I think of the Invisible deck or the Svengali deck or the Mirage deck or the Cheek to Cheek deck or anything like that. But I am going to actually start thinking in that direction with it. So I'm carrying about 7 or 8 around with me, and I'm playing around with routines at the moment. So watch this space, maybe in a year or two, 2024, 2025. Okay, so the next question is from Nevio D, and Nevio says, "Hey Craig, when will your Rubik's Cube trick come out?" It's coming out through Murphy's. It's probably going to be my next release after the one that's coming next. So my next Murphy's release, remember I've only ever had one thing come out through Murphy's, which was the Quantum deck. The next one is coming out very, very soon. And then the Cube one will be after that. So I'd say early 2023, but these things can sometimes delay, but that's where it's looking at the moment. Okay, so the next question is from Mike Tyson by TKO, and he says, "Is there a decent smoke from mouth that's still available as we speak? I know it can be cheesy, but if done right, it can be a beautiful piece of magic a la Shin Lim. What do you think?" Yeah, I think it can be great. And the answer is, I don't know. I mean, the only smoke from mouth gimmick I know is Smoke by Alan Morrison, which was Theory 11's project. I don't know if that's still available. I'm sure you've looked into it. It might be best to contact Alan yourself, because let's have a look. I'm just looking on Theory 11's website. Well, it says in stock. It says in stock. Smoke 2.0. Smoke 2.0 by Alan Morrison on Theory 11's store says it's in stock. currently. So I don't know if that's wrong, but I've got a in-stock thing here, so maybe you try there. If that doesn't work, contact Alan directly. But outside of smoke, or smoke 2.0, I don't know any other ways of making smoke come out of my mouth. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suter, and Adrian says, I subscribed to the Vanishing Ink Masterclass, and I'm looking forward to yours and Morgan and West's coming in January. Hope you liked it. Really do. My question is, apart from them, who else is good at code work as a performer and teacher? There's two, and I have the links. I was looking at these the other day for me and Ryland. I've done some research into this, and there's three that I identified. I'm going to be doing a, me and Ryland want to do a code thing. So there's three, and I will show you them right now. Right, there we go. So the first one, and I looked at this years ago, but I've only just kind of recently gone back to it because at the time I wasn't really interested in this, is Speakeasy by Dan Harlan. And it's a DVD that you can still buy. It is in stock at Penguin Magic, and it's $100. Oh, it's a download. You can download it if you want to as well. So you get the DVD, but you also get a download. It's got 60 5-star reviews. Speakeasy is Dan Harlan's elegant and modern two-person code. Imagine speaking in your natural voice in a relaxed, unrehearsed way, yet communicating numbers, symbols, colours, dates, names, and other information to your partner. No more difficult memorization. Learn the basics in less than 5 minutes. Master the system in mere hours. Simple and fun to teach your partner. Completely customizable to suit your needs. May be performed anywhere, anytime. Easy to learn, impossible to forget. 2 hours of performances, explanations and variations of the Speakeasy system. Also included on the DVD are flashcards and artwork for drawing duplication routines. So there you go. So the first is Speakeasy by Dan Harlan, available as a download and DVD on Penguin Magic. The second is Morgan and West. And the third, and I haven't got this yet, so I can't comment on it, but a few people told me that this is great, is the Telestia code. That's TELESTHESIA code by the Unknown Mentalist, which you can find at library.com. So go on to library.com, that's LYBRARY.com, and you'll search for the Telestia code, and you'll see that. This is a two-person telepathy act. It's simple and easy to understand. You and your assistant can learn this code in under 5 minutes. There's absolutely no words that need to be spoken, nor any signals required. You and your assistant do not even need to face each other, and there is no eye contact, and yet you can seemingly relay thoughts to your assistant. This method is ideal for close-up situations, and with audience management can be adapted to a parlor situation as well. So there you go. Those are the three that I'm looking into. So good question. That's what I would suggest. Hope it helps. Okay, so the next question is from Adrian Suter, and a reply from Magic Elliott that says he's asked the question a few times as well. So I'm so sorry, guys, that I missed your questions. I'm really sorry. It wasn't intentional. Thanks for asking my question last week. I missed the Q&A deadline several times. This will be the question. What are some interesting tricks using mathematical principles? My teenage daughter is a math nerd. She figured out Simon Aronson's shuffleboard after watching me do it twice. She'd love to learn some math-based magic tricks. Right. Me and Ryland reviewed a book, and it was through Neo Magic. Let's see if I can find it. Neo Magic. Here we go. Who's Vinny Segou. Vinny is a really nice guy. And he has a book with some incredible maths routines in it. And Ryland does a lot of them. In fact, I might get Ryland to jump on a Q&A in the future. Maybe we'll do a math video. Maybe we'll do it. Ryland does more. He loves maths. He does more with math-based magic than I do. So maybe I'll get him to jump on and demonstrate some stuff. But if you find the review, the book is called Mind the Maths Magic by Neo Magic. And we reviewed it on a review show a little while ago. And we gave it a really good review. And Ryland performed about 3 of the routines out of it. Over the years, I've collected millions of math tricks, and this book features some of my favourite principles. There's routines with cards, coins, dice, dominoes, calculators, paper clips, and of course maths. All of the tricks in this 128-page book are super easy, and this upgraded version is the highest quality. You'll find 45 math tricks, 12 online teaching videos, 6 printable PDFs, and he's even got my review on here. Craig Petty, 95%, Ryland Petty, 119%. It's true. The book is mainly aimed at the beginner in magic or someone who is new to maths-based magic. Even the professional magician will find some hidden gems that they can tweak and complement their working repertoire. That's the best book I've ever seen on math-based magic. It's only £15, £14.99, and you can even select to have a signed copy if you want to. How cool is that? So Mind the Math Magic, that's a really great one. My personal favourite principle, if it's done correctly in magic, is the 9 force. I think that the number 9 force is really cool and has a lot of applications that I don't think people have actually considered. I've got a really cool version of any card at any number, where it's actually any card in it. It's called Math Stats, and the whole presentation is you give somebody a deck of cards, and you have somebody freely name a number. You have somebody freely name a card, and then you give somebody a list of 200 names, and you tell them to pick a name, and you say that you've tried this experiment. There's this thing called any card at any number, and you've tried it with over 200 people, and you've kept track of what person named what card and so on and so forth, and you have somebody think of a name, and then when they take the cards and they deal to the number that they named, the card's there, but it's also the only card that's got a name written on it, and it's the name they think of, and that uses the number 9 principle along with about 4 or 5 other principles as well. The number 9 force, I think, is great. I also think the 1089 force can be done really well if you present it the right way. I've seen people butcher it, to be perfectly honest, but I think done the right way, the 1089 force is also a really good force. But my favorite is the number 9 force. In terms of other math-based magic, I think... Oh, here you go. No, that's not right. Yeah, that's the only one that I really know. But I'll get Ryland. We'll do another video. If there's enough interest, me and Ryland can do a video, because he's got so many tricks. He'll just come up to me and he'll be like, hey, take a calculator, do this, now do this, now do this, now do this. You're thinking of this. And it's like, how did you do that? Really cool, really, really cool. So maybe I'll get Ryland over Christmas to do a video with me, and we'll do a hows and whys of math-based magic. But for now, I'd recommend the Vinny Sagoo book. It's really good. Okay, so the next question again is from Adrian Suter, and Adrian says, are magic and mentalism really that different? The late Max Maven was a role model for many mentalists, but he also published hundreds of magic tricks that are performed by the best magicians around the globe. I think that if you're a creative person, you can create magic and mentalism. But even Max Maven knew that he wanted to keep the two separate, which is why he had Phil Goldstein generally was the pseudonym he produced the magic tricks through, and Max Maven was the person who did the mentalism. At least I think that was the case. But yeah, I mean, I think if you're a creative person, like I create mentalism. I'm not a mentalist by any stretch of the imagination. I'm a mental magician. I can do mental magic, but I'm not a mentalist. But I know from speaking to mentalists, there's a lot of mentalists that work with the tricks that I've done. I got a really nice quote from Mark Spellman a little while ago about gossip. So, you know, I know that there's mentalists out there that use the routines that I constructed and created, and I'm not a mentalist. So I think that if you're a creative person, you can create everything, even if you don't necessarily perform that type of magic or mentalism. Okay, so the final question today is from Miles Tran, and Miles says, hi Craig, how do you set up Overdraft in your Orphic wallet? I'm going to be really quick about this. On one side of the wallet, I put the 2 regular cards. In the other side of the wallet, I put the Gimmick card. And the Gimmick card is in the second slot down on the side that's got the load for the card to wallet, right? So I bring the wallet out and I show the 2 cards and I take them out and I have them examined, okay? And then what I do is I put the black one back into the second compartment, and I just turn it over and put it there, and I do something with the orange one. So I just, I do a mini flurry, and I talk about how sleight of hand is all about making things disappear. And I do some jumbo coin manipulation, but with the orange card. Boom, 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 boom. That sets the premise. And then I say, well, actually, let's use 2 cards. And I take the other one back out. And now I've got the 2 cards in play, and I've switched the gimmick one in. I've got a few other ways of doing it, but that's the way that I tend to do it the most. Show the 2 cards. I like having them examined at the beginning. Have them examined, put one away, turn it over, do the switch, do some manipulation with the orange card, and then, you know, do that thing that Michael Amar taught on the Easy to Master Money Miracles, where you tear the corner off and then put it back on again. Do some really fun stuff like that. If you've got like a credit scare, you can pretend to pull the magnetic strip off, anything like that. And then take the other one back out, and you're into the routine. Okay, there is one more question, actually, sorry, and it's by Jonah Berg. I missed one of his. Is empowerment the best coin? If empowerment is the best coin to cross, why do you like finally flip better? My thoughts on magic change on almost a weekly basis. A lot of the time based on what I'm performing or creating at the time. I've just spent the last couple of years putting the Mirage coin set together, and I spent a lot of time performing the routines in there, and so finally flipped is right up there. I mean, they're much of a muchness. There's advantages with finally flipped over empowerment, and there's advantages over empowerment with finally flipped. If you actually looked at the structure of the 2 routines side by side, you can see they're similar. Finally flipped was a finally flipped was an extension of the empowerment routine. I created empowerment first, and then finally flip came later. So I don't know. At the moment, I'm liking finally flip better. Next week, it might change. Okay, one final question. Honestly, this is the last one. From 72A1D372. Can we get 10 best keychain effects and 10 best souvenir giveaways? I'm doing a lot of top 10 lists at the moment. They take a while to do, and I'm gigging all over the country at the moment, so it's quite difficult. But I am doing a lot of top 10. I'm doing a lot of top 10 videos, and the keychain and the giveaways one is definitely going to be there. So bear with me. I've got limited time at the moment, so some of the videos are shorter so that I'm not missing uploads, but I will be getting them out when I've got through the Christmas period. I still haven't finished. The next question is by Sting, and Sting says, while you're talking about Ryland performing a lot, I got curious, who decides which gigs to perform? Well, we manage Ryland's social media for him. He goes on there, but we manage it. We also manage his booking. So people come in and want to book him, and if he's available, and then he'll get booked out. We don't want Ryland doing too many gigs. We absolutely don't want Ryland doing too many gigs. He's 10 at the end of the day. If he had his choice, he would be going out gigging every single night, but that's not logistically possible when you're 10 years old. You know, also he plays football, he does drums, he's got friends, he's got homework, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So we kind of monitor which gigs he's doing, and it kind of depends on a first come first serve basis. A lot of people want to book him, but who decides on what gigs he performs? Really, it's me through my entertainment agency. You know, I kind of, people inquire and we check his availability and see how much he's doing at that particular time, and if he's got time, we'll book it in for him. So there you go, guys. That's another Q&A in the bag. Do me a favor, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now, you want to see more videos like this, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Don't forget, if you want to join the Netrix, you can do so by going to www.thenetrix.com. That's www.thenetrix.com. You can go and see what all the fuss is about. I'm going to be back later on today with 2 more videos. At 6 o'clock, we've got Magic Live, and at 9 o'clock, I'm back with the review show special. So go check those out. Thank you once again for joining me on the Q&A. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.